So let's talk about 3 mistakes that new wholesale sellers make. Now, number one is placing too large of an order. And in a previous lecture, we've actually talked about how placing too small of an order continuously can be a red flag and a bad thing as well, right? So obviously it goes without saying you don't want to keep placing small orders, but when you're starting and when you're a new seller and you're just ordering wholesale for the first couple times, it's a different ballgame, okay? So placing too large of an order when you're starting out can be a huge mistake, okay? I get it. Trust me. When you find a profitable product that's selling a lot of units per month, it's super exciting. Although when you're new, you might not see some of the red flags on that product, okay? Now, obviously, a great way to understand these different things that could go wrong is to watch some of the wholesale tutorials in this course, specifically, obviously, in the module that you just went through, right? Although the best way to understand is not to simply watch the tutorials, it's actually to watch the tutorials, but then go out and source products yourself so you can learn by doing, okay? So that said, don't place too large of an order when you're starting out. Instead, place a smaller order and test it out so you can see for yourself what goes right and what goes wrong, right? Now, if your product is extremely profitable and it sells quickly, then great. Congratulations, you just sourced your first profitable wholesale product, and now you can replicate it and source more products with similar indicators that look like it. If it's not as profitable as you thought though, or it doesn't sell as quickly, or maybe other competitors jump on the listing, or any number of other things potentially go wrong, then again, congratulations, right? That's not a failure, it's just experience and it's feedback. You just learned a lot about what could go wrong, and now you'll know all those things for the future for your next products. And at worst, honestly, it'll probably take you a little bit longer to get your money back, so you'll have a slight cash flow issue because it didn't sell as fast as you wanted, but you'll still get the majority of your money back, so it's not like you're out those products, right? When I say things that can go wrong on a wholesale listing, usually it just means your profit isn't as high potentially as you expected, but you're still somewhat profitable, or you're breaking even, or your items don't sell as fast as you expected them to, and so your cash flow is tied up for a little bit longer than you expected, right? So even if it's, a lot of things can go wrong with a listing, right? But even if it's one of these things or a couple of them, it does not mean it's horrible and you're going to lose all your money. It's just an indicator of, hey, this is a potential red flag, so I should avoid it in the future, right? So when you're starting out, do not place too large of an order. Test and learn. You will get better. Now, the second thing that can go wrong, obviously, that a mistake that wholesale sellers make is not understanding every cost, okay? So the total amount that you'll be spending on every product is not just the cost of the product and the cost of the shipping, okay? So it's, again, not just the cost of the product and the shipping, okay? It's also Amazon fees. So make sure, and this is, if you're watching any of the tutorials that I've done, you will have done this, right? You are going to use either the FBA calculator that Amazon provides you for free, or you're going to download the free AMZ Scout plugin, which is an FBA calculator and an FBM calculator. So you should be calculating your Amazon fees, right? But always remember that your Amazon fees are also a potential cost when you sell it. It doesn't matter if you're selling FBA or FBM, so make sure you run your products through an FBA calculator and calculate those fees, okay? Again, it is also potential prep center fees if you're using a prep center. Now, everybody's not going to be using a prep center. A lot of people, especially if you're in the US or if you're ordering wholesale products to another specific marketplace, directly, you're going to be ordering directly from the wholesale supplier into FBA, right? A lot of people will be doing that, right? Now, if you're placing a test buy, you might be ordering it to yourself first and then shipping it in. So that's another thing to consider, another potential shipping cost. But the majority of people are not going to be using prep centers, although for the people that are outside the US and selling on the US marketplace, or for the people that are in the US and just want to not really get their hands dirty, but they want, product inspections on certain products, you might be considering using a prep center. So if you are, obviously remember that that's also potential fees for every product. Now, it's going to depend prep center to prep center, and this is something that we've covered obviously in other lectures, right? But if you're using a prep center, then your fee could be anywhere from 50 cents to like $2 a product. So make sure that once you identify the prep center that you're using and what the prep center's fee is per product, that you calculate those fees into your potential profit margin. Understand every cost, okay? So remember to factor these things in when you're sourcing, and also keep an eye on potential return-oriented items. This is something I didn't really talk about a lot because I don't potentially source a lot of these things for wholesale on Amazon. but I wanted to hit it home because a lot of, if I don't say it, then I can't hold people accountable for not knowing it, right? So I want to hit it home. Avoid potential return-oriented items like clothing, for example, or breakable products. Those are two of the ones that are most prevalent. So clothing can be return-oriented because, for example, if you're sourcing like a bunch of different sizes, well, people that especially when they're shopping on Amazon, they might shop and buy like a small, but then realize that they're a medium, right? So they return the small, and then obviously if they return the small and they don't categorize the return correctly, then you might be out that item and you might be losing out on that money, right? So that's why I avoid clothing when I'm sourcing a lot of times, wholesale specifically for Amazon. Now you can source wholesale for eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari, obviously, or things like that, because those aren't as easily to return. But just keep in mind that a lot of people source clothing on Amazon with the intention of, hey, I'll just return it if it doesn't fit me, okay? So different size things like that, different shoes, different clothing items, a big return-oriented item on Amazon. Obviously, breakable products, that's also another return-oriented item that goes without saying, right? Because it can break in shipping. So these are things to think about when you're sourcing. Just keep them in mind, okay? These are almost always bad wholesale products to sell on Amazon because of potential returns. And even if they're still profitable, make sure you account for potential return issues here and there and losing profit that way. But like I said, I just want to hit this home. So if you can, if all else fails, avoid clothing and different sizes if there's different sizes on the listing. If not, then you're fine. And if you can avoid breakable products, avoid those as well. Now, the third mistake that new wholesale sellers make is treating buying from suppliers like every other online transaction. For example, if you shop on Amazon, and let's be real, who doesn't, then you'll obviously understand that the customer has all the power. You can return anything you want on Amazon for free. You can, for example, complain and get refunded to Amazon, right? You can claim lost packages and get refunded even when they've been delivered. You can literally insert almost anything there. And if you're an Amazon customer, you can get away with it, right? And this means as customers, we're conditioned to feel like we're in the power position. And because of this, we take our relationships with sellers for granted and with stores for granted, right? After all, the customer is always right. Right? We've all heard that saying, right? And so it's not just Amazon, it's a bunch of different things that, and a bunch of different retail and e-commerce sites that function this way. And so we all are kind of conditioned to be this way, right? Hey, we're the customer, we have the power. But do not approach buying wholesale like this, okay? Buying wholesale products is less about using wholesale companies as, our store or sellers and approaching it as a simple business transaction, just like you would purchase something on Amazon, for example, because it's more about forming relationships, more about building rapport with companies and your specific sales reps and establishing long-term connections, okay? By doing all of these things and focusing more on these things, it will result in a better buying experience for you long-term and cheaper prices and better future deals, obviously, which benefits your business, okay? If you instead approach wholesale transactions like every other purchase, you won't do your business any long-term favors because you won't be building any trust and rapport with that specific company, and they will be less likely to do you favors or drop prices and continue working with you in the future, or giving you exclusive products or exclusive deals. So remember these things. These are 3 mistakes that new wholesale sellers make.